Okay, so here are 3 logo design techniques that I use to design timeless logos. If you like these videos, please stick around by subscribing and commenting. The first technique is the grid method, and I found this particular method from Kwaku on Instagram, who also created the logo grid generator, which is an amazing plugin that you should go and get. Essentially, what we're doing is we're taking the grid tool from Illustrator or your vector art program, whichever you use. We'll constrain it so it's an actual box. Most icons and abstract iconography works inside of a equilateral grid, a square grid. And we'll generate our ideas inside of this grid. Most of them will be quite abstract. However, it does give you a bit of a framework to work within. The biggest problem that we all have as logo designers is creating something from nothing. We create a design out of the void, it seems like. The great thing about this grid method is that it gives you boundaries and restrictions to allow you to know where you can place objects, which is actually quite freeing. You can generate all these crazy shapes in there, and you can have a look at Kwaku's Instagram to see that. But I've been using it recently to generate some abstract iconography, and you do get some insane results from that too. Now, obviously with grids, we don't just use them to design logos, we use them to refine them, and you don't have to design within a grid to grid it afterwards. A lot of the time when I'm generating a logo from a sketch, I'll draw it out really rough, I'll bring it into Illustrator and I'll digitize it, and it'll still be quite rough, but then I go ahead and grid it afterwards. And what the gridding does is it allows you to get mathematically precise and consistent shapes within your design. Us humans love balance, and a grid is a great way of creating balance. But not only that, we work within pixels now. Everything is basically on a mobile phone or on a screen. And working within a grid and making sure everything is gridded correctly means that we can view logos at smaller scales, and it's easier to see because it is basically on a grid. So that was technique number 1. Technique number 2 is something called the mashup. Other designers call it mind mapping, some designers call it the noun method. What we're essentially doing is we're creating nouns to essentially identify what something is. So like a river and a house, and then we mash them up. Now, when you're working with a brand or working as a logo designer, a great way of generating unique ideas is to do this mashup. You've seen it before where people show a logo design that has been created from, let's say, a fire and a house, like a firehouse, or a steak grill, like a grill house or something, and they just mash them up and it looks beautiful. In fact, my friend Alan Peters, who's written this book, Logos That Last, I'll link it down below for you, talks about this method a lot. What you want to do is get some nouns that describe or that basically identify something about the brand. It could be like, cake, school bus, shoes, anything. And what we want to do is combine them together. Now, let me show you a way of doing this. I've got a brief here, and I've just gone to goodbrief.io, great platform, and the company is called Wishbone. And the description of their company is a company that develops new ways to learn new skills by combining blockchain technology with a friendly face. Brilliant. We have like 2 nouns, wishbone and blockchain. What we want to do is draw out simplistic versions of both of these. So a wishbone, which could look something like this. And we want to try and draw as many variations of this. What I normally do is just stick to the simplest version of the actual noun itself. Once we've done the wishbone, we then move into blockchain. Now, I didn't really know what to do for blockchain. I sort of had like these blocks going, one block line. However, if you get stuck, just type in on Google or on your search platform, blockchain icon, and it will give you really simplistic icons of the blockchain that you can work with. And you'll see that we get these like blocks with lines going through them, creating like a chain, or we could just use an actual chain link. So I'm going to draw some variations of the blockchain, and then I'm going to see how I can combine them. Well, the simplistic answer for combining these is to create the blocks on top of the wishbone to act like a blockchain. So it's like a wishbone blockchain. So in essence, we are combining 2 different things into one to generate something that is unique for that company. And this requires a lot of sketching, a lot of ideating. However, the best thing about it is, again, we're not creating in a void. We're not just trying to generate something from nothing. This is how we do it. If you're struggling to come up with some nouns for the brand, then you need to get onto a client call to learn more about the brand, have them do it in a workshop exercise, or do what I do. And I teach this on our Skillshare class, which you can go and watch on Skillshare. It's called the mind mapping technique, where we essentially create nouns, mind mapping, by connecting certain parts of the company through a mind map. It's a really interesting exercise for you to do to sort of show your thought process and your brain. And it's great to present to the client afterwards because they have an understanding of how you've connected certain nouns and words from their brand in real form. You don't have to sort of explain to them. Now, if you're on here and you're beginning your graphic design career, then there's one thing you need to do before you do anything else, and that is to have a website. Now, Squarespace has kindly sponsored this video because they have an amazing platform. Yes, you're a graphic designer. You may not know code. I know nothing about code. I'm not a web design wizard. However, I can design some beautiful looking landing pages. The beauty of Squarespace is that you don't need to know any code to create a professional and unique looking website. In fact, they've got thousands of fully customizable, award-winning templates that you can just edit to make it into your own little corner of the internet. So why do you need a website? Well, if you're one of those guys that keep asking us other graphic designers who have clients, how do you get clients? You automatically assume that you need to have like an Instagram following and a YouTube channel and post all your work on these socials. And yes, that is true. You do need to have like a social presence. However, one thing that everyone misses is a website for people to go to. When you have a website, it's not like Instagram where it's basically just what Instagram have confined you to. It is everything's branded. Everything looks like you on your own website. It is your hub. That's where you want everyone to go when they see your work, whether it's on Behance, whether it's on Instagram, wherever. That is the hub. And the beauty of it is that you have a contact form so you can take questions from people. If a client wants to work with you, they can contact you directly from that form there. Quick and easy, no barriers. And the best thing about it is that you have a shop. You can actually sell design resources. You can sell anything that you create on Squarespace for a bit of side income. Now, really quickly, if you want to get your hands on Squarespace, then just go ahead, click the link down below. You'll get a free trial where you can design your website. And when you're ready to push that live button, you will get 10% off Squarespace. You will get 10% off anything on Squarespace. That's like the domain or the website itself, the running costs. It's really affordable. Go check them out, and thank you for sponsoring. Okay, the third logo design method that I use is for logotype design. So say they don't need an abstract icon, say they just need a logotype, which is a word mark. Well, how do we know what style of word mark we need to design for the client? Well, there's one technique that I use, which is called Logotype by Time. For example, I've been working with a creative agency called Made by Rally, and they essentially do design for athletes, and they do amazing work for them. And I've been helping them, collaborating with them on redesigning their logo and making it look beautiful. And essentially throughout the process, I created a bunch of logo types, and there's a lot here. You've got some designs that are funky and retro. You've got some that are quite 1920s feeling. You've got some that are quite modern. Well, essentially throughout the process, what I did is I started designing based on time periods, because time period design doesn't just make it fit to a certain time period. They can actually be quite timeless logo types. If someone can read it, it's quite timeless. So if you want to design a word mark, don't look at styles or fonts. Look at time periods. Again, another great book that it just so happens to be here is like Custom Lettering of the 20s and 30s, which is a great book that I love. And the great thing about it is it gives me lots of inspiration for time period design. I'm not looking at fonts, I'm looking at where the time was. Example, coffee shop, they are like very rustic looking. They want a logo type. Which one do you do? Well, it depends. What time period does it feel like when you go into the shop? What time periods are they inspired by? Are they inspired by the 80s, the 60s? 20s. Based on this information alone, you can come up with a pretty decent logo type. Now, if you're someone who has never learned logo type design before, do not worry, I have a course for you as well. It's called Logo Launch. I won't bore you with the details, but essentially, if you want to like basically make more money as a logo designer, learning a skill of how to design logo types is the way that you do that. In fact, I show you the whole project from Made by Rally and how I design the logo, and I show you and walk you through the entire process of designing type, drawing it out, vectorizing it, and also negotiating, presenting. There you go. Go click on it if you want to go and learn logo type design. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm really stoked that you guys are here and you're watching, so thank you. However, if you have watched this video and you do get something out of it, and if that subscribe button down below isn't clicked, please click it. But also, more than anything, share the video, like it, and comment down below. If you've got a question, let me know. See you in the next video. Goodbye.